SKYZOO, Skyzoo, live from the borough. And this is the Pay Me No Mind podcast.
This is Ray Flores, ring announcer for Premier Boxing Champions. You are listening to the Pay Me No Mind podcast with my man, Wood.
Oh, the Magic Man Malinaji, giving a big shout out to the Pay Me No Mind podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is Swift Jerry Heard, 20-0, 14 knockouts, the new IBF champion of the world, and I'm right here with the Pay Me No Mind show.
Yo, it's your boy John Conwell, and you're checking out the Pay Me No Mind podcast. It's Aftermath, but ain't nothing after that. Flynn, we in the building. It's coming. What?
All right, what's good, family? Stuff jumping off up here. Let me stop that real quick. All right. Thanks for pressing play on another Bite Down Boxing live stream. Got a special guest this morning returning to the show for the second time. We'll get into that in just a second. Just want to make sure a couple of things are set. Looks like everything is kind of good to go. So let's jump into it. Oh, actually, I did have one more thing to fix real quick. Over here multitasking real quick. Where's my man? There we go. All right. All right. Welcome into the show. My man Charles Bad News Conwell out of North Ohio. What's good, boss?
What's so good, man? How you feeling?
I'm all right, man. Thanks for getting with me this morning. I didn't know if you had some training stuff going on and whatnot. Sound like you just mentioned somebody was headed to the gym, but I won't hold you up too long in here. Did you get to check out the action last night with Matisse?
Yeah, I got to see the fight.
What'd you think about it?
I feel like he's going to eventually end up stopping the kid anyway. I feel like the kid was getting wore down, and it's gonna be over with. Either if it got stopped by the cut or if he stopped it.
Were you shocked that that the cut was, the situation was kind of reviewed and a judgment was passed so quickly on it to end it?
Yeah, I thought that. To be honest, I thought they were gonna try to say it was a cut and go to the scorecard and give Matisse a draw or something.
Now
I'm glad they did what they did.
Now you're kind of working your way up to the bigger fights and whatnot, bigger cities and bigger, bigger fight towns or athletic commissions that are a little bit more, friendlier to boxing and whatnot. With you kind of being still being a prospect and whatnot, is that something that would concern you? That somebody lesser experienced group of people, they have a real impact on this kid's record now. And it's, I mean, I don't know. I felt like he could have at least tried to go for a couple of more, minutes before they made that decision. But but the doctor was just like, he was automatic. I mean, from the moment he stepped up onto the apron, he was kind of leaning towards stopping it.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like, he didn't give it a chance to go back out there. But it was a real nasty cut. It wasn't like Tyson Fury, but it still was a bad cut, man.
So, with that said, did you have any thoughts last week on watching the Fury fight? Kind of anything seem out of sorts with you? It was only that cut was only looked at one time, and it seemed like they just went on and let the fight play out.
Man, I feel like with the big fights, they do that a lot. With the bigger fights, they let the people fight through with big cuts, big nasty cuts. So, I mean, if the fighter's not complaining about the cut, and it's a big fight, let them fight. As long as they're not in no real serious harm or danger, they let them fight. They must get fight.
Yeah, that's where I kind of was on it. I mean, we're out here, we can say anything and we all weigh in with our complaints and criticism and whatnot. But I thought the telling factor was that Tyson Fury didn't make any issues about it. he just kind of got busy and went on and once he was aware of what the situation was, he went on and tried to make the best of it. So I didn't really see a need to go and say what all should have happened. Although I do think if it was in New York City, if it was in New York, I think it probably would have been stopped.
Yeah, maybe. It was, but that was a real bad cut.
Yeah, that's one of the worst ones that I've seen, and especially with so many rounds left to fight. But we don't have to go too far into it. But I did think that Valine he didn't make the best effort to try to capitalize on the opportunity that he created for himself. But that's neither here nor there. Well, look, we'll get into a couple of things, man, but one of the more exciting things that I saw going on with you lately, man, I thought I saw that you were getting some sparring in with one of the hotter welterweight prospects in the country in Jaron Ennis a couple of weeks ago. Was that what was happening?
Yeah, we went down to Philly and we put some good rounds in me and Boots.
Who all made the trip over with you?
Huh?
Who all made the trip over with you?
Me and OJ3, me and OJ Jones third, and Big O, Otha Jones second.
Was Otha sparring? Did he get any sparring in with anybody that we might know?
He sparred Ordorno, sparred this other 10-0 kid. He sparred Hank Lundy for a couple rounds. He sparred other people too.
Okay. What's going on, For Ben Media? Good to see you in the chat, bro. So let me ask, man. I mean, that's an interesting clash of styles. Jaron Ennis is definitely a talent that we all want to see more of, and they just announced it or made it official last night that he'll be in the co-main event for Claressa Shields' fight up in Flint on October 5th. But with you guys, like I said, such a different clash in styles. He's a guy that has a little bit more length on you and whatnot. How does that action play out? In sparring, you don't have to go in. I know what goes on in sparring mostly stays there, but do you take anything away from that experience?
Definitely. Worked on getting prepared for this fight. That was stuff like that. But he's the real deal. He's a real good fighter. I like him a lot. That's my boy. We've been growing up since since the amateurs. And he's a real deal. And I'm glad he's back and he's fighting on a big platform like Showtime. So that's always a good thing.
With him, now he's a guy that's he's pretty creative. Uses the entire ring, uses his range. Did you get those? Did you get those? And you're a guy that likes to be more in the pocket, a lot more. Is he using all of that stuff in during sparring and getting in gym work, or does he kind of get more into a performer mode? When he's actually on TV.
I can say he actually does both for me. So he does both. He's still creative in the ring, and he tries to work. We're both trying to work on stuff and do different things in the ring. So I say he does both.
Okay. Now, you're up at super welterweight. At some point in time, facing taller guys could be a thing. Could be an issue that you do have to overcome, and some guys are going to have that advantage to you as you continue to move up. So is this experience with a guy with his range and length, is it kind of invaluable for you to move forward when you encounter those types of matchups?
Yeah, of course. Me being my height, and I'm getting that tall. I face and then she's always face taller fighters. So being working on that and becoming better at fighting tall fighters and doing different things to get inside and stuff like that. That's always good. Plus, he's a real crafty, skilled fighter, so it always brings a little more extra challenge. So it's good working on my things to get better myself.
Okay. So this is a little bit interesting because usually, you know, guys don't get guys who are out sparring, they don't have their trainers with them. But you did say Big O was in the building with you, kind of helping you work through some things, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good morning there, Mr. Castillo. We'll get to that question here in just a second. Another thought that something else that I thought I heard was going on with you lately. Did you make the trip up to NYC last week to check out Devin Haney?
Yeah, I was at the fight. I was in there hiding, man.
He's one of the other top. He's actually, I guess, he's insistent upon not being considered a prospect anymore, and actually picked himself up a belt last week. But you know, what was your thoughts on his performance against Zaur Abdullayev?
Devin Haney, I feel like he's legit. He's a legit contender, and he deserves his shot. He's fought a lot of different guys, and he just deserves a shot. He looked real good his last fight, sharp, and I respect it. I think he deserves a shot.
Have you seen, in your opinion, have you seen some significant improvement in various areas of his game just over the last 2 to 3 fights?
Yeah, I think he's been really a good fighter, but I think people are just not realizing how good he is. And once the level of competition stepped up, he stepped up too as well. So I feel like people just not noticing to it. I feel like he's been doing this thing.
Now he's been adamant that he's ready to face a guy like Lomachenko. I like some aspects of his game in terms of, you know, how he sizes or matches up against Lomachenko, but obviously it's quite a bit of an experience gap, you know, in the amateurs as well as professionally. But what are your thoughts on just getting your thoughts on him? But what do you think is the best approach for him to trying to make that fight happen?
Keep winning and keep beating those guys. Become like you said, becoming the mandatory. He's gonna have to fight him one day eventually. He's gonna have to fight him because he's the mandatory defense. So just keep making statements, fighting these guys, and improving and getting better and getting big knockouts or beat guys with wide decisions and stuff like that. Those things like that will give him respect and stuff like that. So becoming a mandatory, he'll have to be shot.
Do you think that maybe there's a time frame, maybe a year and a half or so, or 6 months? Do you think he's that close to really being truly being competitive in a fight with Lomachenko?
Yeah, I think he'll be real competitive with the fight with Lomachenko. I think he's gonna fight Lomachenko like next year. Well, to be honest, that's what I think.
All right. What about Michael Hunter, man? He was also in the building last week. You know, what's your thoughts on him moving up into the into the contender ranks at heavyweight?
So heavyweight's a real. I feel like fight in that and you look decent. He got a knockdown. I feel like he's kind of small for heavyweight, but he's doing his thing, so I can't say nothing.
Got you. All right, just a couple more questions before we jump into your upcoming fight. On the 12th of October. Last time you were on, you mentioned that a guy that you a guy that you like to watch and pick up on what's going on with him and his development was Canelo Alvarez. Earlier this week, we had the press conference and the announcement of his upcoming bout at light heavyweight, 175 pounds against Sergey Kovalev. It's another situation where it's a shorter guy going up against a taller guy. We all know the tail of the tape details between these two, but what's your take on Canelo taking this jump?
It's definitely a risk, you fighting a big guy, but I feel like Canelo is such a calculated boxer, puncher, so I think he knows what he's going to do already. I feel like Canelo's going to win the fight. It's going to be a good fight, but I feel like Canelo's going to win the fight and go to the body. So, Kovalev always showed some weakness to the body, so I think he's going to go to the body and win a unanimous decision. I don't think he's going to knock him out. I think he's going to win the decision.
Any concerns about, we've seen Canelo deal with and overcome, stamina issues. Obviously, he's an experienced and savvy enough guy to, take breaks when he wants to without, getting in jeopardy or letting the guy take the fight from him. But is this a situation where, you have any concerns about him fighting in spurts and when he wants to? Could that be problematic for him, in there with the guy like Kovalev?
I think he's gonna just break Kovalev down. To be honest, Kovalev is come out strong and whatnot, but I think after rounds are done, he's gonna go to Kovalev's body early and break him down. It's gonna be a tough fight, but I think Canelo's going to adjust and just break him down and get the win.
All right. Well, man, let's get on with you, man. How excited are you? You were originally, I believe, going to fight on the Triple G and the Derevianchenko fight up at Madison Square Garden, but it did come out this week that you did tweet out this week, or at least make it known to your fans that you were moving over to the, moving it back a week and going over to the October 12th date in Chicago with Alexander Usyk and Tyrone Spong. What's your excitement in, in that move?
Man, this is a pivotal fight for me. You know what I'm saying? It's the fight that I'm going to prove myself, and I'm going to do what I got to do to make a statement.
Is one of the you said it's pivotal? Is this? I see it's against a mutual opponent of a guy like Carlos Adames. Your opponent is Patrick Day. So is it? You think it's a good chance to kind of showcase exactly where you are against everybody else that's climbing the ranks at super welterweight?
For sure. Allow make it. When I win impressive fashion, we're just going to show what level I am as a upcoming prospect contender, and making statements like that is going to put me in the higher rankings for world titles and things like that.
Bad. Any similarities? I know last time out, man, back in early June, you got a little frustrated with Courtney Pennington. You see any similarities in kind of the style with Patrick Day?
Maybe the movement a little bit, but I don't think Patrick Day and him have really too much of the same style, to be honest.
I mean, it just seemed like Day, he kind of, it wasn't really survival mode, but he was extending the fight against Adames, in my opinion. And then maybe he came on and turned up his aggression a little later in that fight. So that's kind of what I was looking at, or getting around to the question. Maybe, do you think you guys have kind of addressed, even sparring with somebody like Jaron Ennis, do you think you've kind of addressed, cutting off the ring against a guy and making Day do fight how you want him to fight?
Oh yeah, of course. We've been working on that. That's one of the big things that we got to do in this fight is cut the ring off. Day guys, he's going to be out there moving. So that's one of the things I know we had to work on. That's what we're working on. And other things to combat him from moving. Other things like, stopping from moving and stopping from just moving around the ring, trying to jab.
So have you, has training camp, have you been able to get in work with anybody else, any other notable sparring partners getting prepared for this?
Not anybody really real like big as Boots or anything like that, but we have again working with different guys who are rangy boxers and stuff like that. Not the one that's notable as like John and stuff.
All right. What's the excitement in being able to, in sharing a card with, your brother in OJ3?
Oh yeah, this is like it reminds me of the amateurs, to be honest. Both of us fight on the same card, at the same time again. It's gonna be definitely motivating, If we go first, seeing him get the win, it's gonna motivate me and push me like saying, okay, he set the tone and sign and bring back my day. So it's good to be back in the same fight cards as OJ3. It's kind of funny.
I could imagine. So, how long ago was it that you knew, Patrick Day would be the next assignment?
Months ago, probably since like July or August, one of them. Yeah, they sent me the name and I said, let's do it.
Okay. So what's your expectations, man, in terms of, you picked up this USBA belt. Like I said, here's a mutual opponent against a guy who's ranked pretty highly in the WBA and the IBF. Is your expectation coming out of this, to start climbing up the rankings and get into these top 15 with some of these sanctioning bodies?
Mm-hmm. Man, this is just like the fight I gotta show what I can really do, and that's what I want to do. Just like how you said, talking to I'm one of the top guys in the super welterweight division, and I'm a force to be wrestling with at this weight class. Making a big statement against him and winning impressively, that's going to boost my ranking, boost my everything. So it's going to get me in contention for a world title shot or a title eliminator, things of that sort. But I'm only 10 fights in, 11 fights in, so I feel these guys got 17, 18 fights. I still got a lot of more experience I got to do, but it'll get me in a position when I'm ready that I can just go straight into it and do it and do what I want, like fight for a world title. So
all right,
this fight does for me.
This would be your second 10-rounder, correct? Scheduled for 10 rounds.
Yes.
How's that feeling? I know, you admitted or expressed, some things that you learned, or even some confirmation that you got out of going the distance against Pennington. So is that a confidence builder going into this one, with it being such a pivotal fight for you?
Yeah, definitely for sure. My second 10-rounder, going in with a little tougher opponent, and just knowing I can go those rounds, and knowing what I have to do to fix how I fought in the back end of mid rounds, to improve myself and improve the quality of the fighting I was doing. So yeah, this is definitely a confidence booster. That was definitely a confidence booster. That was definitely like a learning thing I had to go through. And I'm glad I did it. It just goes to show me like I can go 10 rounds and I can still fight and things like that, but got to push myself harder and push myself even more in those rounds.
All right. Any excitement in, just a personal accomplishment or just being included in an event where we got a guy, a former undisputed cruiserweight making his debut at heavyweight? Like I said, it's in the deep Midwest. We also have Anthony Sims Jr. scheduled to be on the card. We just mentioned OJ3. So, and it's kind of marking the start of DAZN's second year. This is kind of where it started for them in the United States at Wintrust Arena. Any sense of being involved in something kind of it's not really historic, I guess, but it's a lot riding on this event.
Yeah, this is definitely like a real big platform and a real big fight card to fight on. Like you said, fighting an former undisputed cruiserweight champs card, and things like that, getting that exposure on big cards like this, fighting on the zone on a nice platform will get you mainstream media views and stuff like that. So is definitely a big event. This is definitely an event that people need to watch. Usyk is going up to heavyweight. That's always a good event. I got my bro on there, OJ3, myself, other good fighters like you said, Anthony Sims. It's just an all around good card, and this is a card that people need to see and need to watch.
Got you. Almost getting ready to get you out of here, man. I thought last time we briefly spoke on the Cleveland Browns, man. Any excitement in what's going on with those guys now that we've seen them a couple games into the schedule?
Yeah, I feel like they can always do better, but the season just now starting. I can't wait to see what more they bring later on in the season. And if I ever fight in Cleveland, man, or maybe my next fight, man, I'm gonna do a Browns-inspired outfit. So I was thinking about doing that. So you never know, man. You never know.
Got you. Now, do you think you'll be able to, or are you optimistic that you'll be able to fit in one more, or is it even a goal of yours to fit in one more fight before the end of the year, or just kind of going to get this one out of the way and take it from there?
Man, I would love to fight again one more time before the end of the year. I would definitely love to fight one more time before the end of the year, man. Knocking him out early, getting him out of there early, why not? If I do that, why not do it? Why not go in there and do it? Why not go in there and do another one by the end of the year? You know what I'm saying? So coming out unscathed and unharmed with the not coming out unscathed and unharmed with the dub, why not try to shoot for another one before the end of the year? Squeeze one more in.
How's the hand holding up, man? I know you had heard it in the Columbus fight before the last fight with Pennington. How is it kind of, selling? You feeling back to 100% with it, or any concerns?
No, I actually feel my hand feels good. I've been working it good, breaking it back in, So it's been back. It's just only getting stronger and stronger, getting back to where it's like 110% ready for this fight. So I'm ready, and the hand's ready too.
All right. Well, let me get ready to wrap this up, man. We obviously, we keep locally here or in this region, we keep an eye and focus on Ohio boxing quite a bit. We got another Ohioan in a big one coming up next week, man, with Sean Porter. How do you see that one playing out?
That's a good fight, man. I think people are underestimating knocked out, but man, you can never count him out. He a rough, rugged fighter, and he's gonna be going there to fight. He's not going in there just to lay down and get knocked out. So this is definitely a hard fight for Earl Spence and a hard fight for Sean Porter. But I'm always go with the home team for the dub. I want Ohio to win, of course. I always want Ohio to win. So.
Now, are you watching this one? Are you watching this one personally? Like I said earlier, it's another example, of a shorter guy going up against a taller guy. It's one of the more interesting, matchups or details, I guess, of any fight that I'm watching is, to see, like we mentioned with Canelo earlier. I watched that Quadras fight last week against Cardenas, and it's funny to watch the guys who struggle with overcoming, length disadvantages. But the guys that know how to do it, that's one of my favorite aspects to watch of a fight. How do you think, Porter is going to fare at accomplishing that?
I think he's going to do well. I feel like he got a lot of experience. He know how to work his way inside and do what he does. Get in there. Man. I don't see this being an easy fight for either guy. Like I said, this is a hard fight, but Sean Porter knows how to work his way on the inside and working the inside, so I know for sure he's going to get inside. Earl Smith can't keep him on the outside all night.
Okay, all right. Do you have a winner in that one, man, or you just sitting back letting it unfold?
I'm just sitting back letting that one unfold, but I hope the best man wins, and I already know it's going to be a real entertaining fight, so I'm just watching that one as a fan.
Got you. All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time this morning, and just any final words, man, for fight fans out there on you want to let them know about boxing's best kept secret.
Yeah, definitely, man. Tune in October 12th on the DAZN, Chicago, the Wintrust Arena. I'm defending my USBA title and get ready to watch greatness unfold. Boxing's best kept secret, man. Charles Conwell.
All right, man. Appreciate it, man. Good luck. I plan on being in the building that night, man. So, I'll be in there. You have some Ohio support in the building.
Yeah, let's do it for sure, man. After that, you get the exclusive interview.
All right, boss. Take care, man.
Oh, yeah, you too.
All right. That was Charles Bad News Conwell. I'm interested to see what the kid does, man. Pretty good platform for him to be on, some exposure for him and whatnot. So we'll see what happens. And then OJ3, I tried to get him on earlier today, but we kind of ran into some scheduling issues and whatnot. So I wasn't able to get OJ3 in. Maybe we make that happen before fight night. Maybe not. Man, where was I? So one thing that I talked about earlier on there was the fact that Conwell had been on his social media account. I think it was Instagram, or maybe it was it might have been Jaron Ennis's Instagram account. But he actually had some pictures and whatnot, and mentioned that Charles Conwell was in town to get some sparring in, and I just thought that was a pretty dope development for both of those guys. Two younger guys, as Conwell just mentioned, they have a relationship going back and whatnot, and two guys kind of breaking through. I mean, you can look at it that Ennis is a little farther along. And obviously, with him being on this, now being with it being officially announced, with him as the co-main event on this Claressa Shields and Ivana Habazin fight, October the 5th up in Flint. I'm glad to see that guy get back, and glad to see him on TV, and definitely interested and looking forward to what's next for that kid. So I don't think I had any familiarity with the opponent that they mentioned for him. But it doesn't matter. I mean, it definitely bolsters that card and makes it more interesting, makes it great for television. And, it definitely steps up the value for people in Flint. And, hopefully that's a pretty successful event for Claressa in terms of, the gate. The inclusion of Ennis on there is definitely going to help out with the television numbers and whatnot. And I really felt like the undisputed fight with several months ago with Shields and Hammer, I think with Ennis falling off of that one, and then what happened with the Otto Valine fight on there, and then Jermaine Franklin kind of not showing out. I believe that was against Rydell Booker was on that one, with that fight kind of being not as exciting as some of us would have hoped for. That's two heavyweight fights right there that were pretty much kind of duds. So, I was kind of disappointed that night that Jaron and his fight fell off of that one, but it's great to see it come back. And then, another interesting development here is that, what's the relationship moving forward with Showtime and Jaron Ennis? Is that is he a fighter that Showtime hopes to do some things with moving into 2020? If Showtime even has big plans for 2020. It's been kind of quiet over there. Last night we did get this Showbox card last night, and it was kind of interesting to me that it seems like now that's basically the what they're doing for their boxing coverage is the Showbox series. Which I'm gonna be, I'm keeping it a buck, man. This year's lineup just really hasn't been all that awesome. In years past we've seen some better names on there and whatnot, but I don't know, man. I would like to see Showtime stick around, but it's a lot of business stuff that I don't think any of us really know what the future holds. Just got home from the barbershop. Had to put you on the big screen TV. I appreciate it for being media. I'm going to do really quick while I'm on here, man. I'm going to just go ahead and kind of run through last night. I had some other things I think I was going to recap. Like I said, on Saturday mornings, I'll kind of be doing, a 30, 45-minute show. Only thing is, when I try to get guests on, everything is up in the air, and it kind of makes planning a little more difficult. But it does look like for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I have some solid guests lined up. Next week, I'm hoping to have on, I have some commitment from Chicago bantamweight contender, actually. Joshua Greer Jr. I'm supposed to talk to him next week. And then probably the week after that, I'll probably have Toledo, Ohio's super lightweight Sonny Fredrickson. He's also a top 10 ranked performer at the 140-pound weight class. So it's, if I'm booked in advance like that, I can kind of focus on the other stuff that I like to do to kind of mix in, my commentary, and then also letting some of these fighters speak for themselves and letting you guys get to know some of the guys who are trying to make it happen in the world of boxing and whatnot. So with that said, man, just to really quickly revisit last week's fight with Fury and Valine out in Las Vegas. Just the card itself, I think Emmanuel Navarrete really made a strong announcement to the world that he's an interesting fighter to watch. I like that the kid seems to be just a fighter first, and he's all business in the ring. It's not about getting to know his personality and what he's doing on social media and arguing about money, arguing about fight locations and all of the other stuff that we can get into. He just seems like a dude that's relying on his team to make the business, to sort the business stuff out, and then he's ready to get in there on fight night and do his thing. And the two beatdowns of Isaac Dogboe. I didn't jump on the Navarrete train after the first one. I thought there was still a way that Dogboe could come back and compete the second time out, and that was just not the case. And the way that he took apart Elorde last week, like I said, I think it kind of signifies that the kid he's an exciting fighter to watch. Good length, for that division, even going up to 126. He's a fun kid to watch. I think we get so enamored and we want to see so many pay-per-view guys, not pay-per-view. We want to see the elite guys that really move the needle and whatnot. I don't really know how many guys are legitimately in that category. So me myself, man, I prefer to watch any guy that's making noise and that can go in there and perform on fight night. And I guess I'm kind of diehard adjacent. I don't know if I'm the biggest diehard, but like I said, Navarrete, I'm a fan. So I thought he was a big winner last week. Like I mentioned in the interview with Conwell, I also liked what I saw out of Quadras against the Cardenas kid. I really liked watching. I think Cardenas had maybe 3.5, 4 inches of height on him, and Quadras put on a great show, a great boxing exhibition out there, and I thought it was a good night for him. From what I understand, Joshua Greer Jr., they tried to make a fight with Quadras, and I guess he wasn't interested in that. I think he stayed down at 115 for that last fight. So that's that. But getting into the night's main event with Tyson Fury and Valine, I'm sure you've heard everything you could want to hear about it throughout the course of this week. That's kind of one of the drawbacks of just doing a show, once a week versus checking in a few times a week. But I don't really have much new to add to the discussion. I mean, for people out there that really had a problem with ESPN kind of inserting themselves into that fight, I don't have much to say on that. I mean, I didn't like it. I think it was interesting. I mean, it was eye-catching or a little disturbing that Joe Tessitore, when he instructed Bernardo Osuna to go find out specifically, what he wanted to know. I mean, I hadn't heard any back and forth between any of the on-air people like that before. And it wasn't a great look for Tessitore. But, it happened. I think, like I mentioned, I did do a Monday morning. I think I did do a little recap on this. I was more taken aback by the ineptitude of the Nevada State Athletic Commission people, that they really didn't have. They seemed to be asleep at the wheel the whole time. They didn't inform the other corner. Yeah, I don't think it really mattered for Ben Media. I don't think it really mattered for the Valine corner, because Valine himself, he signaled over to his corner that he knew it was a legit punch. Now, maybe he didn't, I guess there could be some concern about him not knowing what it was officially, whether that got straightened out. But I'm assuming he was aware, or his camp was aware, that instant replay was in play, and it would be a chance for them to catch it that way. So it didn't seem like he could be, quote unquote, cheated out of anything from his perspective. But getting into the fight, man, I felt like Fury himself, now we hear Ben Davison come out and say that Tyson Fury might have he messed around with the camp, the diet that they had, the nutrition and whatnot. He might have gotten away from what they had laid out that way. There was some rumbling and grumbling about him kind of veering away from, being disciplined in camp over the last few weeks before the fight. Fury's dad was, I think I saw something where he was pretty livid and advocated getting rid of Davison, as the lead guy. But, Tyson Fury told us himself in one of those videos, he said, I don't need a trainer. From the vids I saw, it seems like Davison was going off Fury's word. The cut man said he knew it was a punch. True. Aram said Moretti informed him it was a punch. Davison was listening to Tyson. True. I don't disagree with any of that. Like I said, my issue was the fact that I think Weeks said it was a headbutt, and that was the word, initially. But once the people outside of the ring, once they knew what was going on and reversed that, it just seemed like informing everybody of what the situation was. I don't think that really happened. And that's why I said it seemed like all of the people who should have been involved were asleep at the wheel, and it led to the opportunity for the ESPN people to kind of get involved in a manner that I don't think they should have got involved in. But back to what I was saying with Fury, I just think you put together a production like that on the ring walk, and it's almost a 6 minute or a 5.5 minute ring walk. Like I said, it's got you got cues, you got climb up on these stairs. The thing is, that whatever it was is pulling him along. It's dancers down on the floor. It's a lady at the front of the little mini stage that Fury was on. She's singing. They're doing things, interacting with one another. You got an opponent to get in here and fight. And while we didn't know a whole lot about Valine based on the couple of fights that he has had in the States, he was a bigger man. He did seem to be more steadier and more confident than Tom Schwartz. And I just think to come in the ring, what do we have? 3 or 4 national anthems were sung. I just feel like Fury just really didn't, and it's on him. But I just felt like he opened the fight up a little slow, kind of switching from the ring walk activities and all of that to fight mode. He probably didn't have a whole lot of respect for Valine, as a truly as a real threat. And then I just think he just came out maybe looking to get some rounds in, in contrast to the way that he walked through Schwartz. And it was just it was a good moment that that Valeen created for himself when he landed that left hook that split the right eye of Tyson Fury pretty bad. From that point on, man, I just felt like stuff got real for Tyson at that minute. Once he got back into the corner and they had a chance to assess it, I'm sure a lot of things were running through his mind, and I just feel like he gradually understood the severity of the situation. Again, he didn't complain. He tried to figure it out on the go, and he moved inside. The body work was there. He dominated the next 6-7 rounds. I really, Valeen today is being told. I think if not for the cut, the whole fight would have looked like it did from the 6th round on. I'm with you on that. I'm pretty much with you on that. I feel like Fury felt like he could turn it on when he wanted to. And like you said, I think that cut just kind of escalated things quickly. And we saw what we were going to see from the beginning. Like I said, Valeen right now is kind of on this victory lap. And, this newfound status as being a player in the division. And in my opinion, you had a guy cut like that in the 3rd round. And without that eye rake that he did in the 5th or the 6th round, there weren't many moments for me where there was a prolonged attack to the head or directly onto the cut. He kind of was just like being. He was kind of existing. Valeen focused too much on the cut and not on. Yeah, I think he was, but I don't think he ever really did anything to really capitalize on it though. Despite the fact that he knew it was there. I think once Tyson got on the attack, once Fury got on the attack, like I said, I really didn't see him. I didn't see any prolonged attack on it to make it worse and possibly force, the doctor or the referee or anybody to really make a decision. I felt like once the body attack set in, and sapped some of his energy. I don't know. Like I said, he showed up in the 12th round, maybe seeing the opportunity really slip away. I'm sure they understood that they were down on the cards. And I think he went for it then. He was able to hurt Fury and went on a bit of a rally, but, wasn't able to finish it. And it made for an interesting fight and one that we didn't really see a lot of, we didn't have many expectations for, honestly. So shout out to him. Like I said, him as far as being a player in the division moving forward, he's a guy that's been on a couple of Showtime cards, and it definitely raises his profile. But I still need to see quite a bit more from him personally. But he made the most of his shot, and I think he's a pretty good guy in terms of everything that I've heard about him. He's humble. He's he's a pretty good interview. He's a guy that steps into the contender ranks, and other guys can be tested against him. He might be able to eke out a victory or two and grow from this and do something. But I don't know if I really see him as a as a future world champion. Valeen and his people now going to try to have him avoid fighters he should be fighting like Dubois. They'll ride him out for another payday. Damn, Forbin. I got another seat here if you want to get in with me. I'm with you. I agree with everything you said. I think he'll be just like most of these guys, man. You skillfully get steered to capitalize on, your biggest paydays until you can get it in that right spot where you get the payday. And I think he has some association with either the PBC or Showtime or something. I know that was the press release that I was sent was from the same people behind the PBC. So he could possibly be an opponent for Konoski, for a Ruiz or for a Wilder at some point. So, like you said, it's not like he's going to go out here and say, give me Michael Hunter. or give me Usyk. You know, he's probably gonna find a way to fight the right guys and keep his record right and go from there. My take on the Anderson fight, I didn't see that card. Interestingly, I think that fight got turned into the walkout bout. Well, it did get turned into the walkout bout. I think it was a 6-rounder. Castillo was talking about last week. I had on Cassius Anderson from Toledo, Ohio, by way of Baytown, Texas, a heavyweight who fought top rank, their heavyweight prospect Guido Vianello. Honestly, CC, man, I had to resort to watching the fight on the big monitor at the end of the fight when they had Max Kellerman, Bradley, and Ward and Kriegel up on the panel. I was actually sitting there watching the fight on the big screen above the ring in T-Mobile Arena, and I wasn't able to make out much of it. It seemed like Anderson tried to stay true to his word with the FSU, but he really wasn't that successful with it. Other than just, he was mixing it up and giving himself a shot. But it's at the end of the third round, Anderson's corner, threw the towel in. And so it went down as a third round TKO, I believe. I was thinking he might have fared a little bit better than that. I'm sure he landed some shots here and there. I actually got some pictures from it. I started to mix it into the slideshow here just to see if there were some big connects, if he got to test out my man Vianello's chin and whatnot. But I don't think Vianello is that bad of a heavyweight, to be honest with you. I don't think he's that bad of a prospect. I mean, he moves pretty good for a 6'5", 6'6" guy. He's not super robotic. I mean, he's not the most fluid guy either, but I mean, he looks the part for, a big guy, a big heavyweight who can make some noise as long as he gets the right seasoning and takes the proper steps. So I thought it was a tall order for Casillas Anderson, but I definitely appreciated his enthusiasm towards the task. And, I think he took his shot. I mean, the guy's 35 years old. The window is closing for him. Hopefully it was a good enough performance that, he stays on the radar as a guy who can get, another decent payday or two, so long as that's what he chooses to do and wants to pursue it. I thought it was all around. It was a pretty decent outing for the team. Forbidden Media says, oh yeah, they talking about $50 at the door for the fights tonight. If I can't get these tickets ahead of time, you won't see me there. Shields fight is cheaper. Tickets where? Forbidden Media. Yeah, tickets where? $50 at the door for what? I do want to take a quick second for those that are in the Ohio area. If you're able to get down to Northern Kentucky tonight to Covington. Last week's guest, Randall Wyatt. I always want to just call him Wyatt. Oh, they bumped that up to 50? I didn't realize you were in the Cincinnati area. I think we did talk about it before, but I just forgot. My bad. Damn, bro, yeah, 50? Did you make it out last night to the weigh-in? Well, $50, that's a tough order, especially on short notice. I don't know why Forbidden Media didn't. As many times as I emailed you the last 3 weeks, that should have clicked. But whatever. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Holler at me though, man. I might have a workaround for you possibly. If you still want to go, man. I'll text you offline and see what you're thinking on it. What else was I gonna get into before I get off of here? So I guess basically to close out that Fury thing, I'm hearing some different things this week. you know, with Fury not being, I mean, is the February 22nd date in jeopardy? Fury doesn't deserve a shot against Deontay Wilder. Fury isn't this. Fury's not the best heavyweight out there. People are running with their stories and their opinions, and that's fine. I think the fact of the matter is, if they had a deal in place, that's going to supersede whatever criticism we have of that matchup. And it was a time when those two guys needed each other, and the fight didn't get resolved on the judges. For some of y'all, you might think that the fight was resolved inside of the ring, and that Fury received a little bit of love from Reese on that count. You're free to your own opinion. The fact of the matter is, like I said, if they sign this agreement and if he's looking good medically, I think he does have like a good 7-week period where he's not able to train and whatnot. That February 22nd date is going ahead no matter if Fury's cut is ready or not. Well, at least you understand the reality of the situation. I think it's going to happen. And, after we see the results of Wilder and Ortiz, and then we see the results of Ruiz Jr. and Joshua too, I'm sure there'll be, we'll all adjust and weigh in on what's what. But I foresee that big fight happening at the end of February 22nd. Until I see something that significantly that's a credible reason for that being pushed back. I thought there was one other thing I had to say on Fury. I mean, I don't know how we come back and say that Fury isn't that he isn't whatever. I don't know how we come back and say that now. Because the fact of the matter is, Wilder should have blown him away in the first fight. I mean, if he isn't anything, if he is no threat to Wilder, then why didn't he blow him away after all of the inactivity and the Pianetta fight and the Sifiri or whatever his name was? He should have taken care of business in the first fight. So, like I said, I don't want to be rewrite history and look at this through all these different prisms and whatnot to come up with whatever. I think none of these guys are unbeatable. I do think Wilder is a tough out right now because he has he has two things going for him, in my opinion. Wilder he believes in himself, and he's a dog. That's what he's a freaking dog. Out of all of these guys, along with Fury, Fury is a dog too, but Wilder is a dog. And then, regardless of what the scorecards is, regardless of wherever he is in a fight, he has that eraser. And I don't have any confidence in Anthony Joshua, where he is mentally. I like a lot of things about his game. Fury, for as good as he can box and move and all the, the mix of size and agility and all of that, he don't have no power. I mean, he just can't go in there and impose himself on anybody against the elites, against the elite fighters with a chin. He just can't close his show necessarily. And then, like I said, Wilder might be able to be outboxed. He might not always stick to the best game plan for him. He has his flaws. But you're going to have to tear the title out of that man's hand, in my opinion. I mean, he's on it like that. Now, the business-wise and getting these different guys in the ring, I'm not even going into all of that. I'm not even bothering with all of that. We'll see what happens. But I'm with Lazy. I think the February 22nd thing happens. I think that happens. Moving on to this Canelo and Kovalev being announced this week. I'm leaning towards Kovalev. I really am. no disrespect to Canelo whatsoever. I mean, and I still have to see how things lead up to fight night and fight week. But he just might have to prove me wrong, man. I mean, Canelo just might have to prove me wrong. And that's the thing. Canelo is one of the 4 to 6 guys maybe who can pretty much be in any situation in the ring and probably figure it out to at least not get completely knocked out or to get embarrassed. I mean, he's a guy that can do, he's an experienced guy that pretty much can figure it out, any situation that he's put into. I got Kovalev, I like Canelo, but I think this is a bridge too far. Yeah, I just feel like, some of this stuff is pretty academic, is pretty basic to me. And we get into some of these matchups where I just got to be proved wrong. And this is one of them right here, looking at the size advantage, looking at what Kovalev likes to do. And I think this is really what I was going to hit on. I think one thing about it, man, I really think going into that that rematch with Kovalev and Andre Ward, I really don't think that Kovalev was happy about the money situation. I mean, you probably saw the image out there of what the purses were. I think Ward had $6 million or $6.5 million. There was nothing on the blank for Kovalev. I think Lazy pointed it out last week. I'm sure there was some upside, after the event or whatever. But to be that far along into your career, and Kathy Duva of Main Events, you got your fighter out there in a fight of that magnitude, and the money situation is that upside down for him. On top of the fact that he had some out of the ring stuff going on. He had a questionable decision against him coming out of that first fight. The situation with John Jackson, he had a lot of stuff going on. But when you show up on fight night and the money is not right, I really feel like that's why we saw what we saw out of Floyd Mayweather the last several fights of his career. You fighting for great money every time out. The lack of respect being shown to Porter and Kovalev by boxing fans is puzzling to me. These two guys have fought everybody and ain't no easy out. Yeah, I'm getting ready to hit on this Porter situation along those lines in a couple of minutes. I'm with you there. But yeah, I think that has something to do with what we saw in the Kovalev outing, in a fight that he had won a couple of rounds until that ending. I do think that was a low blow that finished that fight off. But I think Kovalev just the whole mix of all of the circumstances just wasn't right for him. But this one right here, if 12 million is the number, 10 million, 8 million, whatever it is, I think the guy's going to be motivated. I think the relationship, the history that is there with Canelo, McGirt seems to be having a positive effect on the guy. I like him to be all right on fight night. I really do. Canelo's not the most mobile dude. That left knee, I believe it is. It's interesting that a guy at his age and, never being overweight, never working a 9-to-5 job, never being, playing basketball and high impact sports like football, to see a guy constantly having that different color, that sports tape stuff on his knee. I don't think he's a guy that's out doing road work at this stage in his career. He's just not a guy that's going to go out there and be a high volume guy. And I think that's going to lend itself to being good for that long power jab of Kovalev and Kovalev maintaining some level of comfort. And if Kovalev can accrue a certain level of punishment on him, now we know he's slick defensively. We get all of that. But at the end of the day, man, I'm liking Kovalev at this point. And I think it's such a like Left just said, it's such a bridge too far that I don't even think, as long as the fight is exciting, and I think it will be, I don't think it's a real loss or a real hit to Canelo if he does lose. Now, if he get laid out, that would be interesting. The Showbox action from last night, I'm just going to quickly run through it, man. I liked what I saw out of Brandon Lee. I think 140 is jam-packed with a lot of young talent right now. Omar Juarez, who had the big knockout against Della Pino or something a couple of weeks ago on that on the Figueroa card in Edinburgh, Texas. Omar Juarez is out there, very young. I mean, that's his 4th or 5th win. Rolando Vargas out of Milwaukee, he's a top-ranked associated guy. He's been on the show. I like what I see out of his game. Of course, very early, I think he's only in his 4th fight. But then we get up to, 140 is just stat. You got the champions, of course. I think I heard yesterday or was that last night? Mikey Garcia said that he thinks he'll be staying at 140, might be where he settles in. I think it's a shame that Virgil Ortiz Jr. just left to go up to welterweight. I think it's a lot better opportunity down there at 140. I think all these guys, they don't have the same business situations that could keep these guys from fighting one another. So I think 140 is just is jam-packed. I didn't even watch it last night. I don't blame you. And I'm getting ready to run down why. But no, Brandon Lee, man, he kind of reminds me of Shojahan Ergashev, who's another guy who's been who's been stuck on not stuck. I mean, he's just doing his thing right now on Showbox. They got very similar body types, in my opinion. But I like what I saw of Brandon Lee. The one thing that they mentioned was that his past opponents, I think he moved to 17-0 last night by stopping Milton Araz. Brandon Lee's opponents, their combined record was 52 wins and 250 losses, 250 plus losses. So, again, it's very important to see how these guys are managed. And then a lot of his fights were ending in the first round and whatnot. So he's a very young, very green dude. But like I said, I like his. He got nice length on him for 140. Athletic, good height, good good tail of the tape for 140. He's a guy that I would like to see. How he matures and how he gets stepped up. Like I mentioned, Sonny Fredrickson is out there at 140, creeping up into the top 5 of the rankings. What was it, second round? Yeah, second round knockout. At first I thought Brandon Lee, he wasn't doing anything effective with his jab. Like he was just loading up on his right hand. In the first round, he kind of was just touching him with the jab. And that was kind of a concern because I like to see guys do, and I like them to be intentional with the jab and to get into their attack off of the jab. And he was kind of just flicking it out there, messing around. But I guess he knew the opponent that he was dealing with, who had never been dropped in his career. But then we get into the second round, and he started varying the jab. He started, landing some stiffer jabs. He started throwing it from different angles. He's a young kid that fights with that left hand very low. But then he finally started mixing in like a real 1-2. And finally, what is that at the I didn't mark down the minute. But he hit him with a little kind of a jab that raked away the guard and then put the right hand right behind it and really hurt the kid bad. He was knocked down. You could see his eyes rolled around in his head for a minute. He stumbled trying to get up, and the referee waved it off. So a second round KO for Brandon Lee. Good showing for him. I mean, I like to see more of the kid. And like I said, see how they step him up. Ruben Villa against Enrique Rivas. I think that was at featherweight. I want to say it was at featherweight. Ruben Villa is a talented kid. Not the most power in the game. but a complete boxer. I liked everything that he did. I mean, for a young guy, I mean, and to have victories, to have amateur victories over Devin Haney, as well as Shakur Stevenson. I mean, you see why in the performance that he had against Enrique Rivas last night. Rivas was just a brawler. I was kind of shocked at first that was Mikey Garcia's guy. That Garcia is either managing and promoting or just promoting. Garcia's presence did very little for Rivas. I've never seen a guy have that many counted shots. I think he had over 700 power punches and maybe landed like 100 of them or something. But he didn't. He just was all volume. Very little precision going on. And Ruben Villa was running him into punches, the feints, a sharp jab, snapping his head back. He dropped him there in the second round from a slick 1-2 combination, and then we get into I want to say it was the fifth round. Maybe was when the rope collapsed. The rope snapped. One of the ring ropes. It was like a 10-minute break. Totally broke up the flow to the show. This is like the second, I think it's the second consecutive show box where we had an issue where the ropes had to be fixed. And at that particular time, I was really ready to take my ass to bed because I knew I had to get up in the morning for this. But Villa went on to win it 100-89 on all three cards. He's just a very sharp kid, man. Fought when he wanted to. Good defense. Very confident. Just Rivas was outmatched. I mean, he was outclassed completely. It'll be interesting to see what Villa does moving forward and how he gets stepped up. In that last fight, Michael Dutchover against Ohio's Thomas Matisse. Pretty good performance from Matisse. He's an interesting guy. He seems to be a slow starter. Seems like he could be better offensively than what we see. He does a lot of stuff well and looks the part. Like they mentioned on Showbox with the on air guys. I can't think of none of their names at the moment, but Farhood and I can't think of the other cat's name. But Matisse seems to be able to do it all and nothing really bad to say about the guy other than he just seems to his energy seems to go up and down and he gets himself into trouble. But he was running away with this fight in terms of punches landed and his output. Dutchover was pretty to me was pretty fundamentally sound. I liked how he put his combinations together. He stayed on the body. He worked in the uppercut. He tried to pressure and everything, but I don't think he was getting to enough angles to kind of overcome the high guard that Matisse was staying behind. And while Dutchover's looked good and it looked fundamentally sound, a lot of his shots a lot of his shots were just landing on Matisse's arms, and that's kind of what Dutchover just didn't have a way to change it up and to do what he, to try something else to try to make these shots land and try to get through Matisse's guard. And I just think, when you're watching the fight, you want to see a guy be able to adapt and make some adjustments and find a way to be more effective. The thing is, we get into the 8th round and there's a bad cut over Dutchover's, I want to say that was his left eye. I want to say it was his left eye. But in a good fight, he was up on the cards. I think he was up on 2 of the cards. At the 1 minute and 33 second mark, the referee stopped the fight immediately, told the doctor to come up and evaluate the cut. As soon as the doctor climbed up onto the apron, you could tell he was leaning towards stopping the action, and he did. They had a bit of a discussion, but the doctor was waving his head no the entire time. And I think that's unfortunate. The kid the kid was from Midland, Texas, where the fight was held. Everybody's there to see him. It was a bad cut. He was bleeding bad. But to not even give the man 20 seconds or 30 seconds, to not even see how he deals with the adversity, I thought, and the kid has a knockout loss, a technical knockout loss on his record. That affects this kid's pay. He lost the belt that he had. And that's what I was asking Conwell about earlier, in the stream. When you fight in some of these smaller venues, we all know that the Texas Athletic Commission is a little sketchy with how they handle boxing. I just think it was unfortunate that this kid didn't get a chance to at least finish the round. But like I said, not to observe him to see, is he getting hit? Can he not see? Like I said, in contrast to what we just saw last week in Las Vegas with with the cut that required nearly 50 stitches or 50 stitches for Tyson Fury, for him to be allowed to fight 9 rounds or 8 more rounds with 9 more rounds with that cut, and this kid to be given like 5 to 7 seconds to do anything about his situation, to me that was really unfortunate. So that was that. Last thing that I wanted to get to was Spencer Porter. Wow. I'm kind of. What happened to my screen here? There we go. All right. Spencer Porter. I think the personal attacks that have been going on for the past 4 to 6 weeks on Team Porter, in my opinion, that's unfortunate. I don't think these guys have done anything. Team Porter, I don't think they've done anything throughout the time that we've been watching these guys to deserve to be dragged the way that they have been the last several weeks. Just for the simple fact of having to fight a guy who everybody wants to be the next superstar in one of boxing's most glamorous divisions. And because a large faction of fans side with Spence, we got to tear down everything that Sean Porter and his dad have done. And I tried to get Kenny Porter on. I tried to get Sean. I tried to make that happen. I had some correspondence, and I thought it might have happened today, but it fell through. Which, I already knew what the deal was, but I shot my shot. But for Porter to come from, this dude was on Tuesday Night USA Boxing? That's where I saw him years ago. To get over to ESPN Boxing, to get to Showtime Boxing, or to get to the PBC and be a fixture in that, to be featured on NBC Sports, to be one of the first fights to go back to network television, to make it here today to a pay-per-view, to be a 2-time champion. I don't know how we can hate on this man. And I don't know how we can hate on his dad. I mean, it's been these two against the world for a minute now. I mean, I really feel like Porter had positioned himself to deserve strong consideration. I remember him being on Underdog in the Alexander fight. Right. Like I said, we've never liked Sean. I mean, it's only been a small fraction of people who really respected his hustle and his physicality. But other than that, it was like he was doing something illegal. It's not aesthetically pleasing, but whatever. Like, it's a fight. At the end of the day, these matchups are fights. And here's a guy who's undersized, in terms of his height and his reach. He can't go in there. He can't go in there and fight like the Civil War. Wait till you see the whites of their eyes, and we just gonna stand here and the first line shoots, they kneel down. The second line, we reload. He can't do that. It's got to be guerrilla style combat. It's got to be guerrilla style combat. But to sit here and tear down Kenny Porter, I would imagine when this thing started, I would imagine that there was probably, 7 or 8 kids in the van, or however they were getting around, working the Midwest through the amateurs. And I can imagine that every year they lost one more kid, or there was an empty seat in who was traveling to these fights. And gradually it was only him and his son left traveling to these fights and still trying to make this thing happen. And that's some Richard Williams type stuff from the Williams sisters. And that's how a lot of these that's how a lot of these fighters become something, is that it's some father who supports this young man into going out here and accomplishing something and becoming a champion of the world. And to sit here now and tear this brother down because of his appearance or his wardrobe, whatever. I mean, if that's what you're on, if you talk about Kenny Porter or Team Porter, if you're talking about these guys for 5 to 10 minutes and you haven't said anything about their preparation, about their accomplishments, about their technique, about their adjustments, about them in the ring, about the wins. I mean, even if you want to talk about the Kell Brook loss, which is one reason I'm a prisoner to that in this fight right here. I mean, I'm gonna put it out. I mean, my winner for this fight is Spence, and I'll get into that in just a second so I can get off of here, go about my day. But he's done everything boxing fans claim they want fighters to do: fight everybody. He's earned this more than Mikey did, completely left. And the fact is, I was getting ready to say, I really felt like he had positioned himself to deserve strong consideration for fight number 49 with Floyd Mayweather. I think both him and Keith Thurman were sitting right there positioned to at least deserve a phone call. That was a game changer opportunity right there. I would have much rather have seen Porter in there. I think, hell, everybody had to be on board with that. You would have rather seen Porter than Berto at that particular point in time. But I ain't mad at Berto getting a chance to cash out. I think he got $8 million or something or whatever. He definitely got his career best payday for it. But I really felt like Porter had done everything to make himself pretty enough to be a dance partner for that fight, and it didn't happen. But what I liked about it is he didn't even fret over it. They just got busy and focused on what was next in boxing with the exodus of Mayweather from the division. And he's been working, like I said, he's been working his way ever since. A damn good fight with Keith Thurman that was a tight one. And then he comes back and defeats Garcia in a pretty entertaining bout. If some of us wanted to get off, if we wanted to jump off the train after the you guys fight, I wouldn't begrudge you for that. I kind of didn't agree with how they fought that one, but it ain't a fighter out there that's not gonna get a decision or 2 or 3 that helps them get to the next whatever. It happens, and I blame some of that on Ugas for not forcing the issue and sitting there, being demonstrative and waving Sean in for the action. Why he got to come to you? Go to him. Is another agenda out there against this fight after years of complaining Errol not getting a shot at the other champs? He gets a shot. People people complaining about a unification crazy time. That's right. I mean, we got 10 people holding up the goalposts, and we got 10 people trying to kick the ball, and they just keep moving the goalposts. Yeah, that was, to me, that was totally. And Ugas was a guy who built himself into that position after, what was he? He had 4 losses, or he had back-to-back losses at least, and had fought himself into that position. And to go out there and let it slip away, in my opinion, to slip away the way that he did, he can do nothing but blame himself. Anybody thinking I'm a ride to the cards against the champion, that's just foolish. That's just foolish to me. But anyway, let me get into I guess, like I said, the Kell Brooks situation. That wasn't a good showing for Sean Porter. He lost to the better man on that night. But like I said, I guess I'm kind of a prisoner to that moment. I still don't see Porter. And I'll say this. I think Porter has done everything. I think he's checked every single box. Realistically, he's checked every single box in his preparation for this fight. What you think about you guys versus Crawford? I don't know what to think about that, because the PBC, they don't seem interested in sending anybody across the street to help that brother out in any way. So if Ugas is still associated with the PBC and trying to maintain his good standing over there, I can't see that fight happening. I like to see it, but I can't see anybody in the fold, going over to help him out in any way. Like I said, I'm still of the opinion that for Danny Garcia not to go and try to make that happen, maybe now it looks a little better that he could sit here hoping for the call from Pacquiao. Now that he got this victory against this win over Adrian Granados, but other than that, for me, that's I'm off of Garcia at this point. For you not to have your own ambition, your own aspirations for you. And we argued about that about what the purse may or may have not have been to face Crawford. But I think I'm with Shakur Stevenson. That, this is BS that we could sit out here and support the business getting in the way of great fights being made. If there is some desire out there for some of these different matchups, we can't get the marquee fight, with Crawford and Spence, definitely until we see what happens next Saturday. We can't get that. But down the list, there are some other matchups that I think should be happening. I think if he's given an offer, he'll take it. TR has a better opportunity with the second tier PBC welterweights. Crawford needs to do more talking to draw the PBC out. He's too quiet and needs to market the Spence fight. I was thinking earlier, man, we're sitting here now. I see some of the discussion out there being that Porter and damn. I'm seeing some thoughts out there now that Porter that we're not sure if Porter and Spence does above 220K in pay-per-view buys or approaches 220. I think you had some tweets out there on that. Yeah, wholeheartedly, I agree with that. Yeah, good point. Crawford needs. I already read that one. But that just nullifies what I was getting ready to make. But I do have the question though. I do think, or I'm optimistic that Porter and Spence does a minimum of 300K. I mean, I'm thinking. But I guess if there is that much pessimism out there, I guess I got to factor in the sources of that pessimism. But if Porter and Spence struggles to do 320 or 270 or something like that, is Crawford and Spence, is that a 400K or, you know, a 450K fight? What's our confidence in that? Danny Garcia don't want to take hard fights unless it's a name like Mikey Porter, Thurman, Pac, but not Spence. He could have had that fight. I agree. Yeah, I'm pretty much, Garcia is just an impersonation dude on Instagram at this point. Right. We understand the situation that. We understand that that's the situation. You know, we need to see black versus brown, or it can't be the same. It can't be the same on the A and B side. It's got to be some mixture there to make it work. I agree. But I guess my question though is, in my opinion, there's not a better fight in all of boxing than Spence and Crawford. But is that a 400K fight? And if it's not, you know, then that's kind of a problem for boxing. If that's not legitimately a 400K plus fight, then the new reality might be that boxing is just a matter of mid-level fights. But anyway, let me get my Spence take on, and I'm gonna get on out of here, man. I think Spence, I liken Spence to the fact that he's almost like an Adrian Peterson in my opinion. What's up, Ronald Finkley, my brother? Spence is kind of like an Adrian Peterson in my opinion, that he's very fundamentally. Adrian Peterson was get to the edge, plant a foot in the ground, and then make one move and head upfield. And I think while Spence doesn't do anything, he doesn't do anything showboatish to me. I think he's always with his fundamentals. He brings his volume. He guard all. I mean, he's not out there with the right hand all down. He doesn't give you a lot of mistakes. As a Mexican American, I want to see Spence Crawford. We just want to see good fights. I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. I was just thinking to myself earlier as I was pouring my coffee before coming down here. Is Crawford and Spence not as lucrative a matchup as we all want it to be? You know, if the people that are out here that do it for, if Top Rank and the PBC are sitting there and the numbers don't add up to 400K, like, is there any impetus for them to push for that fight? I'm hoping that they sit there with a lot of confidence that it is commercially viable, but we got all these other options that we can just get through those before we do that. The jab will have Sean resort to some dirty tactics. And that's where I'm getting ready to go, Ronald Finkley. I just think that Spence, in my opinion, that height, that youth, the strength that we think is that we've come to associate with him. And Sean is letting some of his game plan out of the bag. He's saying that he intends to return to, more, I call it a 3 yards in a cloud of dust game plan. But I see him trying to move inside and being a guy that got him here more so than what we saw against you guys and some parts of the fight with Danny Garcia. I see him doing that, but I don't know if I really believe he outworks Spence solely because he's there to do that. I just think Spence, I just see him being able to, I just see his natural advantages nullifying most of that. And so Porter's come out and said, you know, we're gonna bring it for all 12 rounds. No, and that's the thing about Spence. Regardless if he did knock Mikey Garcia out, his volume overwhelms these guys. I mean, what you can say that he didn't you can say that he didn't knock out Lamont Peterson, but he was like quadruple the amount of punches landed over those 6 or 7 rounds. I mean, his volume is impressive. And that's what I'm thinking here with Porter. That's how I'm seeing it. I just don't see Porter outlanding him. so that when we get to the 7th, 8th, 9th round, to where he's accumulated enough damage on Spence to, to have a shot to either knocking him out, which I don't think that's in the cards anyway, or, just forcing the issue later in the fight. I just don't see that happening. But like I just was getting ready to say, I am very confident, and I salute them brothers, because I think they've done everything possible that they need to do to get ready for this fight and to give themselves the best opportunity on fight night. But I just think in a lot of instances, man, you get to fight night and it's just a guy with the better mix of factors that are in their favor, and the better man just comes out of it. And but like I said, Sean's enthusiasm towards this challenge is commendable. The preparation seems like it's been going well. I like that he got these taller guys in the ring for sparring. Chris Pearson out of Trotwood, Ohio. Dennis Douglan. David Benavides. It seems like he's pulled out all stops in being ready, for fight night. And I think it's done well to attract people, to chip in, to go in their pocket next week to support this thing. Because I'll be honest, this is a great 2017 Saturday World Championship fight for me. Like, this really isn't bona fide pay-per-view for me. But with the activity that I've seen into the lead up, I'm very excited about this fight now. I heard Kenny say they're going to take Spence places Sean has been, but Spence has never been. See, I don't really agree with that. And that's what I tried to get my question. I tried to get my question in on the conference call the other day, and didn't get to get buzzed through. I wanted to ask Kenny and Sean, or just Sean, is he undervaluing the experience, the Olympic experience that Spence has, as well as the fact that Spence went over to the UK to wrestle that belt away from Kell Brook. Maybe that's not 6 or 7 fights worth of experience, but there have been some experiences that he's gone through that I just don't think there's going to be any situation that Sean can create in the ring, especially through the first 2 or 3 rounds. I don't foresee there being anything that Sean can really create for him that Spence is going to be like a deer in the headlights. Sean Porter interviewed yesterday, pay me no mind. Yeah, the last 2 days they did interviews. I want to say Wednesday night they did the media, the workout. Like I said, I talked to Kenny Porter after that, trying to get some time yesterday, man. But I'm stuck here in Ohio, man. I'm waiting on dudes to answer phones or pick up a phone and call me, and it just doesn't happen. I was told they do what they could to work me in the mix yesterday, and like I said, it didn't happen. My texts went unanswered, my phone calls went unanswered, but I did get through Wednesday night. I shot my shot. Has Errol ever really been in a dog fight? The Brook fight was good, but at no time did it ever feel like Spence was gonna do what he eventually did. I mean, and that's the crux of the intrigue in this one left. Has he been in a dog fight? But what I'm saying, my counter to that is, will his offensive output allow this to really be a dog fight? I'm not certain that it really becomes a dog fight. He can move well enough. He's got length. He's got strength, decent power. He throws clean combinations. He throws disciplined combinations. It's not like he's out here, like I said, lapses of focus, lapses of being defensively responsible. We haven't seen that from him. When I saw Sean fighting you guys, trying to stand on the outside, throwing shots and swinging hooks and being 3 inches short, out of a 6-7 punch combination, visibly being short on all of that, how you going to overcome that against a better fighter? So, like I said, I'm intrigued. And if he can pull it off, great. But I just don't see it. I don't. I just don't. That was a bad game plan by the Porters. Yeah, definitely. But look, like I said, man, I think it's gonna be a great fight. Hopefully, like we all know, it's not gonna be an easy night. You know, I don't see this being an easy fight for Spence. And I think I think it'd be good for him to experience some adversity, and for us to see some him have to overcome some stuff. And that's my thing, is Spence is gonna be what he's been billed to be, and be the future of everything. We need to see something that's compelling in a number of different ways. So I'm hoping it is everything that it could be, in a number of different ways. But like for where I am, at least into the second and third round, if I start seeing some signs of some real struggles and whatnot, that's just where I am with it. Who won fights last night? I missed it. If you're talking about the Showbox stuff, Finkley, Brandon Lee looked good in 2-round stoppage of Milton Araz. Ruben Villa looked excellent in 8 rounds of action against Enrique Rivas, where he knocked Rivas down in the second round. Basically toyed with him the rest of the fight. Ruben Villa is a really good fighter that I plan on enjoying seeing what he does over the next year or two. Even mentioning him as a potential opponent for Shakur Stevenson. And then Michael Dutchover in the main event last night lost to Thomas Matisse after sustaining a severe cut over his left eye. Oh, I even wrote it down. It was the left eye. At the 133 mark in round 8, the ringside doctor came up, quickly examined the eye, and waved it off. And I think it was a bit of it was some misfortune for Dutchover, who was fighting in his hometown, not to even get a chance to try to go for the knockout, over the next 30 seconds or the next minute and a half that was left in the round. But, player or fighter safety, first. What them elbows and headbutts, when them elbows and headbutts start flying, Spence gonna know he in a fight. You got to get there, You got to get home to make that. You got to get home to make that be a part of the fight. I'm just not so certain that that's the narrative. The early narrative of the fight is him getting home to get that type of stuff off. One thing that I like when I was mentioning the comparison to an Adrian Peterson, Spence puts that arm out there at times and uses it as a stiff arm to stabilize his opponent and to steer him where he wants him to be. And I want to see how Porter gets around all of that. The shots and that stiff arm effect. Like I said, we haven't seen Spence under duress. Garcia wasn't able to accomplish very much. And that's one of the big feathers that's in Spence's cap. Just like Mayweather for a lot of his tenure at welterweight. Both of those guys are great tail of the tape individuals for the 147-pound weight class. Like it's gonna be very few matchups where somebody is 2 and 3 inches taller than especially before Spence gets out of the division. It's not going to be many nights where he's looking up at somebody, and it's not going to be many nights where someone has, several inches of arm reach over him. I don't see that happening. DSG and Mikey Garcia are front runners for Pac's next fight, according to Pac's manager. I hope neither one gets to fight. They need to be fighting each other. Yeah, if you can smash out, if you can run through Adrian Granados and get yourself a pay-per-view fight with Pacquiao, then what the hell are we doing? You know, I'm with you. What the hell are we doing? Garcia, if you can be swept, if you can damn near be swept and fall up into a matchup with Pacquiao, yeah, what the hell are we doing? You know, what the hell are we really doing? And it can happen too. It can happen too. And they find a way to get around that. The fact that we just sat there and watched that man go 0 for 12. They would do it. Well, look, man, I ain't really have much else to get into. I appreciate everybody for rocking with me. Like I said, next week I'm expecting to have Joshua Don't Blink Greer Jr. on here starting at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. You know, come on in, ask him a question or ask him some questions. You know, participate in the interview. And, you know, he's a guy, he's October 26th in Reno, Nevada. He's facing Antonio Nieves out of Cleveland, Ohio. Nieves, the interesting thing is that Nieves is a former opponent of Potapov, who Greer Jr. just fought. Excuse me. And some people didn't think that, you know, and you know, the opinion was that Greer didn't overwhelm us with that win. Some would probably even say that Potapov deserved the decision, maybe. And Greer Jr. came on here before the fight. He did call into the show before the fight and said he was going to do something spectacular. I don't know, man. With a lot of these fighters, man, we don't know what goes on through training camp. We don't know how these guys start feeling themselves a little bit. We don't know, you know, like I said, Joshua Greer Jr. was in the building up in Detroit the night that Nieves and Potapov fight. People were booing. By the second and third round, people were booing Potapov and Nieves at the Detroit MGM Grand. I got a feeling if Spence vs. Porter does $300K pay-per-view and Canelo wins, we're getting Spence vs. Canelo next May. Those middleweights have done nothing to separate themselves from each other, but be separate from one another in everything that they do. That's a lot of moving around for Canelo though to come back down from 175. But I mean, I think they did put it out there that Canelo, the plan is for him to return to 160. I think they did drop that out there yesterday. So that's that. Oh, I did want to mention, I was getting ready to get on out of here. I do have like 30 more minutes. Not that I'm going to be on here 30 more minutes. I thought the Ryan Garcia situation was interesting this week. I like Ryan Garcia with Golden Boy. I didn't want to see him out here landing somewhere else. I just didn't really want to see that. And not that I love Golden Boy or Oscar De La Hoya more so than anybody else. I'm glad that they worked it out. I'm glad that Garcia, I like when some of this stuff happens out in the public's eye. Day one King Rod fan right here. I didn't see nothing from Romero Duno last week that convinces me that Garcia doesn't beat him up. I mean, I didn't really see nothing from Duno that jumped off the screen at me against the what was that, Delgado. So what I'm still bitter about a week later is the fact that we didn't get to see Garcia against Avery Sparrow because the things that Avery Sparrow said and said that he planned to do or show us, I was really that popcorn gift that you like to use left. I was sitting here in my seat with my popcorn all over the floor, ready to really see if Avery Sparrow was really able to put those tests on to Garcia so that we can start finding out what this kid is really about. He's another guy that could be up at 140 at some point. Like I said, super lightweight is lightweight moving into my favorite division. It's a bunch of guys that could be right there. Teofimo Lopez could end up there. Devin Haney could end up there. We don't know how long after the unification fight with between Prograis and Josh Taylor. We don't know how long Prograis stays around at 140 if he thinks he can go up. If he's successful and thinks he can go up and earn some of those bigger paydays, at welterweight. That's interesting. I put a little something on Sparrow that fight. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I think I was really. I just wanted to see that clash of styles. I wanted to. Garcia is tall for the division. For like another division or two, for at least another division, he's a little tall. So I want to see, and that was one of the things that Sparrow called out at the press conference. Like, he has zero inside game. So I really wanted to see that, man. I felt like we got robbed of kind of learning something about the guy. And I don't think Romero Duno is the guy to ask the same questions. That's just my opinion. But like I said, man, good to see those cats make up. I thought it was funny that Oscar, I think he said something about, I thought we were supposed to be cool. I thought we were friends or something. Just kind of making light of the situation, man. I do think Golden Boy is a good I think we need all of the majors out there to keep the game as balanced as possible. I don't like any of them more than the other, but I think the ones that are there and have enough cachet and enough influence and enough power to get certain things done, I want to see those guys in place and to have the right assets to continue to make, to put the whole entire boxing calendar together, for us to enjoy it as much as we can. Other than that, man, look, I'm getting ready to get on out of here. I got some stuff I got to get done to try to get down to Cincinnati tonight, Northern Kentucky. They was doing King Ryan dirty, though. You got to be more media savvy. The only thing I would say about that is, it's a question. I don't know. My question is like, what money had been put into? Oh yeah, that part was dirty. Yeah, I said that last week on Twitter, I believe. Might even mention that on the Monday Morning Wood. That was, and that's why I was so concerned that the relationship was truly fractured beyond repair, because of the fact, if I'm King Ryan, you come in and put some of this stuff out there. I thought the relationship was done, to be honest with you. Once you put out here to the public that I'm afraid, and that I said I'm afraid, it's statements like that can't be walked back, that a fighter can't overcome. I mean, we're sitting here now, with the word on Kovalev that he can't take body shots. But it's not like people are standing on that statement like Kovalev is just out here taking knees left and right after a body shot. So while he does have some interesting reactions to the body shot, like I said, is how can you lead your argument against Kovalev with he's weak in the body? All these people that this man has fought, and how many times has he been knocked down? It's not like he's out here taking a knee a fight or two knees a fight after a body shot. I mean, some of these things that we harp on in looking at some of these fighters, like, at the end of the day, what does that really factor into the outcome of a fight? Even saying Victor Ortiz is better than King Ryan. Oh, Virgil Ortiz, I'm sorry, is better than King Ryan. Yeah. Bob would never say Loma is better than Crawford. He'd be diplomatic. That's what was so Bush League about the whole. That's why I thought, like I said, I thought that relationship was irreparable, and I thought that Rye would be looking for a way, to take his services elsewhere. And I was surprised that it all got resolved in 72 hours or 48 hours or whatever it was. Interestingly, Rye comes out and calls his boss a beaner and gets, his way. And then a couple weeks ago, momentarily, Antonio Brown had called Mike Mayock a cracker, I guess, reportedly. And he got his way temporarily before that all fell apart. But some of this stuff that we see playing out, I just thought it was inexcusable. I think Golden Boy is way too big for the stuff that we saw last week. Furthermore, the situation with Franchon Cruz DAZN, adding on the back end of all of that type of stuff, for her opponent not to make it to fight week. And for her to have to face, a 24-hour replacement or a 48-hour replacement to fight Maricela Cornejo, because the other fighter, Alejandro Jimenez, did not have couldn't get a visa. Another bad look for them and managing their fighters. Now she had already wiped the floor with Cornejo, damn near sweeping her. But again, this was a pretty big fight, a pretty big moment for Franchon Cruz DAZN, and for her, for Golden Boy not to have been involved in that situation to see. And then the whole Sparrow situation with his legal situation looming over that whole fight. It was just a horrible week. It was like Golden Boy, all the executives were just asleep at the wheel again. Golden Boy has always had bad PR people. Look at the way Canelo gets treated in the press with little pushback. Yeah. And then that whole situation right there for Oscar De La Hoya to say that the fight with Triple G was a possibility in 2020, and for a day or two later for Canelo to come out and say, he can't speak for me, or he shouldn't be, he says these crazy things or whatever it was. Yeah, very, very bad 7 to 8 day stretch for all of the dudes, in suits over at Golden Boy. Well, look, like I said, man, I got to get out of here. I got to get ready to get a couple things in order before I go down here to try to check out this fight down in Northern Kentucky. Lays, I'm going to text you, something, get your thoughts on it. I think on Facebook you can find New Era Champs. New Era Champs Boxing, I believe, is the for Wire Promotions. You can go on there. You can go there and figure out how to watch the fights for them. The ones that will be streamed tonight. Longtime Cincinnati trainer of Rashid Warren and Adrian Broner, Mike Stafford, Coach Mike Stafford. I guess he's going to be on the call tonight. If that's something that you're interested in, I could pop up on there. Nah, I don't even think I really want to do that. But yeah, if you want to tune into the fights, that way, that's an opportunity. I like club shows, man, so I'm gonna go down and support it. $50 a pop though at the door on a 1 day notice. Even though it was a payday week for a lot of people, I mean, $50 to see. Some of these fights were still getting finalized in the last 72 hours. That's another challenging thing when you have discerning fans. You can go check on BoxRec and you're trying to get an idea who's facing who. The one good thing that they have for them, while I still got you lazy, the one thing that they have going for them is it's not a great boxing weekend. Although, how many people that would show up there actually have any of these apps on their phone, if it was action going on. So when he vacated the WBC, he got killed. Golden Boy could have used that upcoming trial as a legitimate excuse to drop the belt because Canelo contract could have been terminated. That's what they are saying at the barbershop. Yeah. Well, otherwise, man, I'm getting ready to get on off of here. Like I said, man, I appreciate everybody rocking with the show. Be on the lookout for Joshua Greer Jr. next week, possibly the week after that. Sonny Fredrickson, who has his next fight scheduled. We'll get into that. And then, the next week I won't be doing nothing. I'll be up in Flint for the Shields card up in Flint. So I won't be on 2 weeks from now. Maybe I'll try to do a Friday night thing. Nah, because I'll probably still be up in Flint. So probably in 2 weeks, nothing. I'll do some kind of update or live from up in Flint if possible. But look, man, like I said, I appreciate everybody rocking with me. Look like this might be a good time to check in with everybody and talk a little bit of boxing, on a week-to-week basis. And like I said, man, I appreciate the support. Like I always say, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Bite down boxing. Don't let them count you out. I'm out.
Ride with the gun, live for my queen, die for my son. Drinking my cup, smoking my lungs. The life that we live, get off fear none. I look around, the city I'm from, the places we've been, the spots that we hung, and it ain't the same, but we don't complain. But make no mistakes, gotta ride with the mob, stay with the drum. Bitch, I don't fear none. Me and my OG, going on OG. The cushion my lungs, gotta stay focused. Keep both eyes open, cause where I'm from, niggas hopeless. They'll blow shit, they don't know shit. Gotta ride with the mob, stay with the drum. Bitch, I don't fear none. Me and my OG. Going on OG, the cushion my lungs, gotta stay focused, keep both eyes open, cause where I'm from, niggas hopeless, they'll blow shit, they don't know shit. What should I ride? The Benz or the Lac? Hit the highway with the wind in my back, blood in my eyes, tears in my yak. The nigga that you met, same nigga in my raps. I hit the road with minimal luggage. I came with killers if I'm in the function. I move with gorillas and all of it's thuggin'. They ask where we from, straight out the jungle. They want my demise. I think it's funny, yo bitch on my line. Pussy get punished, you know I'm a ride. That road they get rugged, unlimited vibes. I'm rising above it. I know where I'm headed. Straight to the money. You play with my niggas, my family, my money, and shit, it get ugly. I do what I want to. You do what you able. You looking for sugar, you know where I'm going, I'm straight to the paper. I put the food on the table, cause that's all I ever know. I won't put no bitch on my pedestal. I got too much on my schedule. Live by the club, ride with the gun, live for my queen, die for my son. Drinking my cup, smoking my lungs, the life that we live, get off fear none. I look around, the city I'm from, the places we've been, the spots that we hung, and it ain't the same, but we don't complain, but make no mistakes. Gotta ride with the mob, stay with the drum, bitch I don't fear none. Me and my OG, going on OG, the cushion my lungs, gotta stay focused, keep both eyes open, cause where I'm